What's up, chat? What is up, world? What is up, FightHype live from the high-tech headquarters here in Las Vegas, Nevada, coming off a sensational performance from Jaron Ennis on Showtime last Saturday. And as you see from the title of the video, Undisputed, which comes July 29th, may not last long, but we'll clarify. We'll get to what we mean by that. We got to hook you in a little bit. Got to hook you in a little bit on this Monday afternoon, July 10th, here in the smack dab in the middle of the summer here in Vegas. Yeah, had Kid Austin do his thing as well over the weekend. Stan Jonas Virgil, of course, was canceled, and greatest theme music ever in the history of boxing podcasts live on FightHype. It's a short list, but I think that the NFL 2K theme wins out as the best theme song in FightHype's lives history. So, got to get to some stuff. We got Frank Martin fighting Artem Hartunian, the bronze medalist from the 2020 Olympic Games. Or 2016. He might have actually medaled in 2016. I got to check. 12-0, 7 knockouts. Nonito Donaire as the co-main event, fighting for the WBC bantamweight vacant title against Alejandro Santiago. Kid Austin had a unanimous decision. Bernard Hopkins wants to put him in there with Jojo Diaz. We'll get to all of that later on. But the man of the hour was Boots Ennis for his 10-round destruction of Roiman Villa, where he had a complete performance, where he fought on the inside in the pocket for long stretches, exchanged with Villa, took some hard uppercuts where he showed us his chin in a way where it hasn't been tested before against a legit puncher like Villa. Great body punching from Jaron Ennis. I think he's one of the best body punchers in boxing right now. Had a great jab and began with the jab. Didn't start with the special effects and the tricks. Began with the jab, then began to switch. Then he caught on fire in rounds 3 and 4, started showing all the different reflexes and defensive maneuvers and all the sauce and tools he has in his kit. Fought on the inside beautifully with combination punching, swimming without getting wet in the exchanges. Great jab out of the southpaw stance and the orthodox stance. Heavy hands, snapping power, great hand speed. So just a complete performance against a guy, who was straight up and down, coming forward all night. Easy to dissect style, but a guy who had an amazing chin, great conditioning, and very good punching power. And Villa and Boots just put on a show. So, but what's up, Charles N? What's up, Bebop Jones? What's up, Keep It Moving? What's up, Tauso Foes? What's going on? Tauso Foes saying Boots ain't ready for these two. And we'll get started then. So, Jaron Ennis wins. One moment here. Handles his business against Villa. And so what do I really mean by Undisputed won't last long? What I mean is, I'm not saying that Jaron Ennis is going to get the winner of Crawford Spence and beat them, and that's why Undisputed won't last long. I mean it more because it's hard to hold on to all 4 belts, and they will get it off without a hitch in 3 weeks from now. Well, 2.5 weeks almost now. They will fight for Undisputed Crawford versus Spence. But after that, I think you'll start. You already hear Errol Spence talking about he doesn't love paying those sanctioning bodies for without knowing what they're even paying them or what they're using it for. So I do think the winner, especially if it's Spence. This is Spence's last fight at 147. If he wins, he'll demand the rematch, probably be at 154 pounds with Crawford. If he loses, he'll probably be moving up from 154. So I don't think Boots will ever get Spence. I think he has a slim chance of getting Crawford because if Crawford beats Spence, that's not the guy that Showtime has invested a lot of money in, and it's a guy who, by the time they would have his next fight after beating Spence, he'll be 36 years old. So you'd be dealing with a 36-year-old guy who's never been a pay-per-view star, who doesn't love to self-promote himself. I would think that Showtime would want to get their juice back, want to get their juice back by maybe they would give Crawford a fatter guarantee than they'd really want to give him in hopes of getting him in the ring with Ennis, a 26-year-old going on 27, that they have invested years of their budget and airtime into with Ennis. So I think Ennis might get Crawford if Crawford wins, but I don't see him getting Spence, because I think if Spence wins, he's thinking about Canelo. I think this is speculation, pure speculation, but I would think that if Spence wins, PBC, Showtime, and Spence are thinking about Canelo at 68, big money at Cowboy Stadium. They definitely won't be thinking about Jaron Ennis. Crawford won't be thinking of Jaron Ennis really either, but Showtime might make him a lucrative enough offer, maybe above what they'd really want to pay him, to get him in the ring with their young guy that they've invested a lot of time and effort in with Boots. But I think that Undisputed won't last long to address the title of the video because of what Bozy Ennis is talking about right here. Let's take a look, chat.
That title's coming to us. Ain't no rematch. You want to get that IBF title. Then y'all gonna have a rematch. You want to get that IBF title.
Let's play that again, chat.
That title's coming to us. Ain't no rematch. You want to get that IBF title. Then y'all gonna have a rematch. You want to get that IBF title up.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, one more thing I just wanted to get with you.
So that's what you heard Bozy Ennis say right there, is for the rematch it won't be Undisputed. It's going to be Undisputed July 29th, but for the rematch it wouldn't be Undisputed because Jaron Ennis, he already holds the IBF interim world title. He won it when he knocked out Custio Clayton last year, I believe, on the Charlo Castano undercard. And so Spence, if he goes ahead with a rematch, whatever Spence does after, whether he moves up to 54, whether in a really rare chance he stays at 47 to defend the Undisputed title against Crawford, I don't think that's happening. He's going up, win or lose. So because Spence will be moving up, win or lose, that means Ennis is going to get to fight for the full IBF title. And who would the full IBF title be? That'd be Cody Crowley. Just one look at the Box Live rankings at welterweight, and we'll clearly see that, you know, it's going to be Cody Crowley against Boots. Oh, hold on here. I don't know why they gave me junior welterweight. Let me get to the welterweight rankings. One moment here. We'll just do it like that, chat. So, shout out to Box Live for giving us these rankings constantly. They're a great source that I always go to. But where are we at? Hold on. They usually give us everybody from IBF on. Hold on. All right. Probably should have pulled this up before, chat. Forgive me. But Cody Crowley. Yeah, Cody Crowley is going to be, I believe he's the mandatory for the IBF, if not rated right there below Boots. So yeah, Jaron's the interim champion. And Villa, who just lost to Boots, so obviously he's going to go down in the rankings. Crowley's up next with the IBF. So what I see happening for Boots, he's not going to get Spence for sure. Maybe he gets Crawford if Crawford beats Spence and Showtime makes a lucrative guarantee to get Crawford in the ring there with the young bull Boots Ennis. But I think Boots is probably going to fight Cody Crowley next for the full IBF title. By that point, the first fight between Spence and Crawford will be well done. And then to visit another interview from Fight Night, shout out to my man Hans Themistode for getting us all this stuff Saturday night in Atlantic City. You hear Stephen Espinosa here mention Stan Jonas.
Their family, everyone that been support of his own. You know, he ain't fought in over a year.
Right.
Well, you know
that fight that with Virgil Ortiz just keeps getting canceled. Can we see that by the end of the year with Boots?
Well, you know, look, it's a tough ask for Stan Jonas. He's been off, you know, through no fault of his own. You know, he ain't fought in over a year. So, look, that's a tough ask to ask a fighter off a year, 16-month layoff to take on Boots Ennis. But Stan Jonas is a warrior.
So, yeah, you could tell from Stevens, and Stevens right, it is kind of unfair to Stan Jonas to feed him to a monster like Ennis. After, you know, he's been inactive through no fault of his own with the Virgil first time he pulled out, second and third time Virgil Ortiz pulled out. So yeah, I gotta agree with Stephen Espinosa. You can't expect Stan Jonas to fight Boots after a year plus layoff. So it sounds to me like the most realistic scenario for Boots Ennis is he will be fighting for that full IBF title against Cody Crowley soon. He'll win that fight by knockout. Cody Crowley's a great guy, great story, but that's going to be a tough night for Cody Crowley. He's getting stopped. And then Stan Jonas for an IBF WBA unification. Stan Jonas will fight someone between now and then to shake the ring rust off, and then we'll probably see Boots against Stan Jonas in an IBF WBA unification. So that's that. To address the title of the video, that's kind of what we mean by Jaron Ennis will end Spence versus Crawford undisputed reign. Probably not in the ring, but he will be the guy because he's mandated to face Spence or Crawford, the winner of that fight, for their IBF title, and because they're going to either rematch each other or Spence will move up, win or lose. That's how, Undisputed, the reign won't end. Whoever becomes Undisputed July 29th, the Undisputed reign will be very short-lived. It might not even make it to one title defense, because in order to keep all 4 belts, you're going to have to fight this man right here, Jaron Ennis, to hold on to the IBF strap. And I don't see either guy doing that. They got a lot of lucrative business in front of them. Maybe Crawford. If Crawford wins by stoppage, and Spence says, you know what, fuck a rematch, I'm just moving up. I'll fight Tim Tszyu, I'll fight Brian Mendoza, but if Spence wins, he doesn't even want to make welterweight anymore, so he's not fighting Boots. He's going to move up and try to fight Canelo, I think. If Crawford wins, maybe Showtime might pay a little extra to make Crawford fight a young bull he probably wouldn't really want to fight otherwise. Showtime would probably have to bring Crawford some money to get him in the ring with Ennis after the Spence fight. So, but that's how Ennis ends their reign. He probably doesn't end it in the ring, but he ends it outside of the ring by being the mandatory of the winner for the IBF belt. Neither guy's going to fight him after whoever wins, they probably won't fight. Maybe Crawford. Small chance Crawford if it plays out like I said. So that's how Ennis is going to end the Undisputed reign, that it won't be lasting very long. He's the mandatory, and I think they'll let that IBF belt get stripped after they win the Undisputed Showdown on the 29th. And of course, BT in the chat saying Jermell hasn't fought in like 14 months or more, but he's fighting Canelo. And trust me, that went through my head as I was saying you can't expect Stan Jonas to fight Boots. Stan Jonas, BT, Stan Jonas would fight Boots if he was getting paid what Jermell's getting paid. But also different expectations. We look at Jermell as a great fighter at 154 pounds. He's a Hall of Famer in my book, because you can't tell the story of 154 pounds in the history of boxing without talking about Jermell Charlo. So, with more greatness gets higher expectations. So that's part of why, and a lot of people aren't not blinking an eye at Jermell moving up 2 weight. A lot of people critical of that, even with Jermell being undisputed versus undisputed. So, but let me say what's up to some people in the chat. Fire in my bones. What's going on, brother? Stan Jonas or Crowley? I got Boots against either one. Absolutely. And maybe not even that competitive for Boots, either one of those fights. 2 come forward fighters. Stan Jonas is definitely a better fighter than Crowley. He's a tougher fight than Crowley. I mean, he's just better across the board. He hits harder. He's sharper. His defense is more compact. He's, I believe, even younger. Much better amateur pedigree. Stan Jonas is the tougher fight, but I think Ennis beats both of them. Both of them have styles where they come forward and try to bring the fight to you. We saw how that went for Roiman Villa. Stan Jonas is better than Villa, but Stan Jonas is very good, very solid welterweight, but not elite to me. Not on the Crawford, Spence, Boots level. I think Virgil was going to beat him, but maybe he wouldn't have if he could manage to get in the ring because of how weak he was probably going to be getting down to 47. But that is how I see it. Saint Nuso, hope you have a blessed Monday, brother. Hope you have a blessed Monday, but nah, Espinoza tripping. Stan Jonas versus Boots can happen now. I mean, I'm fine with it because ultimately I think he gets beat either way. So whether Stan Jonas but I understand the thought of Stan Jonas is our guy. He kind of got fucked in the Virgil situation a couple times, out of some money, out of some activity. Let's give you know how it works, BT. Let's give our guy his fight, and also he's not the full WBA champion yet. So if you let Stan Jonas work someone over before you feed him to Boots, he gets to be a full world champion. He gets to win the Super WBA belt, and now him and Jaron. I mean, even if you feed him to Boots next, he probably gets elevated to full champion anyways. So I that doesn't need to happen. But you let Stan Jonas get his own shine. Maybe put him on the co-main event of Boots and Crowley. Boots and Crowley, full IBF belt. Stan Jonas on the co-main with a WBA belt. Then 4 months later, you turn around, put them in there together. Stan Jonas gets beat by Boots, and now we can start to really, really work with Boots. We got 2 belts on him. He's the unified welter. At that point, Boots would be established as the best welterweight in the division, and maybe by then we could really start to get him some marquee work, some marquee fights. But that's not going to be easy because Sean Porter retired, Thurman and Ugas, their names aren't that hot right now, and I hear they're fighting at 54. I'm not even hearing they're going to fight at 47. Virgil Ortiz, he looks done at 47. Spence is moving up, win or lose, after Crawford. So the best case scenario, right, is he our guy, though? They were letting him fight Virgil. Good point. Can't possibly be their guy that much if they were willing to let him cross the street. They're really their guys. They'll never let cross the street. They're assets that they've built too much into, and that's business. So I get it. Fire in my bones saying, I still say Spence and Crawford will be a trilogy. I could see that happening. I could see that happening. I could see that happening. I could see Crawford winning this first fight. Spence taking his rematch at 55. I don't know. That's a question for Spence on fight week is, do you have a rematch clause if you lose? Because I'm pretty sure if you win, of course you can dictate terms and force the fight at 54. But for Spence, if he loses, can he mandate a rematch at 154 pounds? I'm not sure if he has that in his contract or not. But as for a trilogy, I could see Crawford winning the first fight, and then since Spence is the younger man, maybe make some adjustments, maybe get Crawford to agree to 54, where Spence will be healthier at 54 than 47. Maybe Spence, after potentially losing the first fight, says he didn't feel good at 47, and maybe he wins a rematch at 54, and then they have a trilogy for the third time at 54. But I don't know, man. I'm not even convinced even with a rematch clause, they're really going to have a rematch. I think a rematch only happens if it's a very competitive fight. I think if Crawford stops Spence, we might only see it once. And if Spence can dominate Crawford, make him look like the little guy in there, bury him early in the fight, and then never look back. Crawford never makes the adjustments quite like we think he can, and plays catch up like he's so good at doing. And maybe Spence buries him early, and like he says, surprises people and makes it more of a one-sided ass whooping, and there's not a whole lot of money on the table for a rematch. Maybe Spence wins the first fight so decisively that Spence and Heyman and PBC tell Crawford, hey, we don't, this rematch ain't really that hot. Why don't you let Errol fight the winner? If Canelo beats Jermell, why don't you let Errol move up and fight Canelo, get that money, and we'll let you fight Jermell at 54 for Jermell's belts. If Jermell can still get, I don't know. These are all hypothetical scenarios. But I don't know about a trilogy. I'm not even fully sold that we will get a rematch. I think we'll definitely get one if it's a fight of the year type fight. Very competitive, even if it ends in a stoppage either way. And then, if it's a decision and it's disputed, then guaranteed rematch. But if this fight ends up more one-sided in either direction than people are predicting, then I'm not so sure we're going to get a rematch and see it again. But we'll see. Ain't going to be no rematch. You don't think so, BT? You don't think there will be a rematch? BT knows better than all. BT, the quiet man behind the running the show at FightHype, he could actually tell us right now if there's going to be a rematch or not. But Crawford will cancel the rematch, says Angry Casual Fan. Angry Casual Fan, good to see you, brother. Why do you say that? You say, and I have a super chat from my man. Keep It Moving. Keep It Moving says Charlo has only had one fight once every year since the Tony Harrison fight, the first Tony Harrison fight. That's true. And I'm not exactly sure why. Part of me, again, the business side, not quite my thing yet. I'm getting better at it. I'm better at what happens in the ring. But maybe Charlo, he's been a tweener. He's been a tweener the last couple years where he's a marquee fighter. He's a headliner, but he's not a pay-per-view fighter. He's not a pay-per-view star. So maybe because you got to pay him a significant amount to fight on television, to fight on Showtime Championship Boxing, maybe he eats up a significant chunk of the Showtime Championship Boxing budget. Now the pay-per-view is different. That's on us, the fans, to help turn a profit, buy the pay-per-view, all that. But maybe Charlo, in part, why he was fighting once a year, is he demands a pretty significant chunk of that Showtime Championship boxing, and they can only afford him once a year, and they can't quite put him on pay-per-view because he's not a pay-per-view star. So I have a feeling that the business side might have had something to do with why Charlo only has been fighting once a year lately. BT, does that sound like it could be anywhere in the ballpark of true? What's up, Seattle Boxing Talk? Good to see you, brother. Seattle Boxing Talk said, don't count out the draw. Most fights have likely rematches or draws. La Murph said, any thoughts on Floyd Schofield? Yes. I rewatched Kid Austin's fight. He got the 2 knockdowns in round 7. And Kid Austin is just a physical specimen. He's very athletic and very strong. You almost want to, it looks now, I don't even know if the kid lifts weights, but his arms almost look too big for boxing. He's a specimen. And very athletic and very strong. And his best punch, like he dropped Rhodes on twice, was his left hook. He has a very good left hook. But doesn't have a great jab. And doesn't do a whole lot of fundamentally sound boxing. He relies and fights on his athleticism a whole lot, and I didn't see a lot of jab. Now, guys like Roy Jones, of course, have had great success doing that, not always using the jab, fighting off their athleticism. Although, as time's gone on, Roy was kind of deceptively crafty. It wasn't just all his gifts. He had a great sense of timing and distance, and he was great at setting traps, and he had a great booby trap jab. Putting it out there twice, and then, boom, here came that right hand or that left hook. But it was a great range finder. And when he wanted it to be, he could throw it like the piston. But he a lot of times, pawn with it, setting up the power shots. But to me, I like Kid Austin's talent. I like his physicality, his power, and his athleticism. But I didn't love yet his technical skills. I think Devin Haney at his age was further along technically. I think Shakur Stevenson in the amateurs was further along technically. Although to Kid Austin's credit, he's fighting and beating up grown men at a time where Shakur was still fighting in the amateurs with headgear on. So I don't want to put the kid down at all. But Mason Abdullah is about a year or two younger, still a teenager, and he shows me a much more refined level of skill at the same division. So normally, the kind of physical athletic talent that Kid Austin has could get him to a world title. But in a division as deep and as talented, with as much pedigree as lightweight, it's not going to be enough. And I remember even telling Bernard Hopkins that for Ryan versus Tank Fight Week. When he asked me what I thought of Kid Austin, I said, I love his talent, not fundamentally sound yet, and at 19, 20 years old, it's not there exactly to say he has to be all the way yet. But if I told Bernard, if he doesn't get fundamentally sound and only relies on his gifts, this is too deep of a weight class to become the best in. So that's my assessment of Kid Austin. And I definitely like his physical talent. But Schofield versus JoJo. No, my man BT saying, nah, I think injuries have just made Mel fight once a year. Well, that's true, because even in 2019, he probably would have fought twice. He would have fought Cota, and he would have fought Tony Harrison. I think he did fight twice in He did fight twice in 2019. He did fight Cota and Tony Harrison. But Anthony Hardy says Ennis has fought a load of nobodies. Well, they all do until they get their opportunities, right? And some guys get their opportunities sooner if they medaled, if they were in the Olympics, if they have a big fan base. And Ennis didn't have any of those things going for him, so you got to come through the back door. You got to fight who they put in front of you and look spectacular doing it. Golovkin is kind of where Boots Ennis was at when he first came to HBO. It was, man, he's not fighting anybody, but your eyes don't deceive you. He may be fighting guys he's supposed to knock out, but he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's knocking them out. And the top guy, Sergio Martinez, Miguel Cotto at the time, they don't want to fight him. Same thing with Boots Ennis. He's looking great against who they put in front of him. And we all know the top guys, Crawford and Spence, don't really want to get in there with this unproven, super talented, super dangerous guy just yet. So, he definitely passed the eye test. If you know boxing, you got to be enamored with Boots' talent. Doesn't mean you won't still have question marks. Doesn't mean you just pencil him in against the established best fighters in the world like Spence and Crawford. But there's no denying the eye test with Boots Ennis. There's just no denying it. So, Karan Zhukajan exposed Ennis. What James Dole? What Karan Zhukajan exposed in Ennis is that he can't cut the ring off. But Karan Zhukajan, for not 1 second in that fight, tried to win. He fought to survive from the opening bell. He got his Murad Hakar on. And he just went to, if you know the reference. But or as Jonah Hill said in This Is the End, sick references, bro. But he, and Jonah Hill in the news a lot this week, incoincidentally. I just watched This Is the End. That's one of the funniest fucking movies ever. And he is hilarious in it. So, what was I even saying? Got lost for a second. Karan Zhukajan. The man didn't even come to win. You've seen what happens with a fighter who really comes to engage and to win. Now he did expose that Boots has problems cutting the ring off, because I think Errol Spence, who isn't as versatile or as talented a fighter as Boots, definitely more proven, more stat. He's the champion. He's the welterweight champion. But Errol Spence would have cut that ring off just fine on Karan Zhukajan, and I think would have got to his body and got him out of there. Ennis couldn't cut that ring off. And really talented guys sometimes struggle to cut the ring off, because it's not something, usually cutting the ring off is the slower guy, the less talented guy has to cut the ring off, because at range, he doesn't have the speed, he doesn't have the tool set to offset the more talented fighter at range. So he's got to get in there. He's got to take more chances. He's got to have the courage to walk through, take one to land one, catch behind his jab, and get to the other guy, get to his body, slow him down. Errol Spence knows how to do all those things, and Jaron Ennis, that got exposed a little bit against Zhukajan, but for the most part, Zhukajan made him look bad because he came there to make him look bad. He didn't come there to win. He came there to survive, and we got to see Ennis against an opponent that was trying to win last Saturday, and it was back to normal, back to him looking spectacular. So, let me see right here. Someone asked me right here, where is that? The Angry Casual fan said, Sean, who do you think wins the battle of the jab, Spence or Crawford? Spence all day. Crawford has a good jab out of both stances. But Crawford's southpaw jab, he likes to double it up to set up combinations more so than piston with it, than really shoot it in there like a power shot. Errol Spence can do that. He could take something off of it and then boom, stick it to the body. He could double and triple it up hard up top. He could double it up and then step over to his right in that southpaw stance to give an angle for his body shot, to give an angle to his left hand. His left hand is his best power shot, whether it's down the pipe, whether it's sweeping it or digging it, uppercut style to the body, uppercut up top. The left hand is Errol's money shot. I don't love his right hook. And he'll throw it. And I like his right hook better to the body than I like it up top. And the right hook really only comes out good. Like, I really only like the right hook when it's flowing out in combinations from Spence. I don't think he has a great check hook. I don't think he hooks off the jab that well. I think he sets up his left hand and his body shots beautifully from his jab. But he's got the better jab than Terence Crawford. And that's going to be a problem for Terence Crawford, because Crawford usually nullifies the jab. Like Kell Brook was out jabbing Crawford when they fought. But Kell Brook's orthodox. So what Crawford did to take away the jab was he switched southpaw. That's always his fix. He switches southpaw, and then he begins to get that lead foot positioning. He starts to get his lead foot to the outside or to the proper positioning of the lead foot of the orthodox fighter. And then since he's a southpaw now, he's smothering that lead hand. They're fencing, and it's harder to shoot the jab off. Spence is one of the best I've seen at the orthodox fighter trying to take away the jab, and usually both fighters kind of comply, and Spence just jabs right over that lead orthodox hand. So Crawford will usually switch southpaw, and he makes the other guy start fencing with him, takes away their jab. When he switches southpaw, like Nonito Donaire was once telling me about Pacquiao versus Spence, that angle's not there. That lead foot angle isn't there, and that ability to start to just smother the jab with both guys fighting with their lead hands, that's gone. It's like orthodox versus orthodox now, southpaw versus southpaw. That's going to be a major issue for Crawford, especially early, because Spence will out-jab him. And Spence is going to find his offense behind that jab. The question is, can Crawford get past that jab and figure it out and begin to take it away from Spence by countering it? he's the best counterpuncher in boxing. I think eventually he will find the answers. Spence is more versatile than people give him credit for, but his patterns are more predictable over time than someone like Terrence Crawford or Jaron Ennis. Crawford will be behind early because that jab is going to be coming early from Spence, and when Crawford switches southpaw, the jab's still going to be in his face. And he'll have to take it away or combat it with his own combination and counterpunching. So, to answer your question, Angry Casual, very not casual. You're not living up to your name with that question, Angry Casual fan. It's a very hardcore boxing fan question about Crawford Spence. But I do think Crawford could take it away eventually as the fight goes on by adjusting, by counterpunching over the top of that jab. So let me take a look at let me shift gears here for a second, chat. So we explained why that all is, but this weekend's fight, I'll be covering it ringside with my man Ron Goodall here on Fight Hype. Frank Martin, Artem Hartunian. Artem, tough Armenian guy from, he's not from Armenia. I have to forgive me. Might have been Germany that he had to actually reside out of. Probably lives in California now, like many fighters looking to make it in the United States do that come from foreign countries. Most of them go to California. Some of them New York, you know. But this guy is a good fighter. I watched tape on him. Frank Martin, much more versatile, faster, and more versatile, more tricks up his sleeve. Artem, more fundamentally sound, straight up and down, comes with his hands high, good hand speed, not a slow plodding type of guy. Got some head movement, got some snap and some head speed to his or hand speed to his punches. That's why he won the bronze medal. But Frank Martin got a lot of sauce despite starting late at 18 years old. He can lower that lead hand. He's got good defense to offense simultaneously. He could transition from one to the other. He's very good in the exchanges, had a piston jab, southpaw stance, physically strong, as you could tell from this picture here. He's an athlete. And Frank Martin might be the biggest threat at lightweight outside of the big three, to the big three. Tank, Shakur, Haney. But Frank Martin, even including a Lomachenko, who, you know, may have deserved a close nod over Haney, depending on how you scored it. Very close, disputed fight. But Frank Martin, I don't know. He, even with all his inexperience, he might beat Lomachenko right now. I don't know that. That's saying a lot, but he might beat Lomachenko right now. To me, he's a top 5 lightweight, and that's why he's headlining. Despite Nonito Donaire. Nonito Donaire is actually fighting for the WBC title on the co-main event. Let me confirm that with you, chat. But yeah, Donaire will be fighting Alejandro Santiago in the co-main event. This fella right here. So Santiago lost a disputed fight in late 2021 against Gary Antonio Russell from the Russell brothers, the Russell fighting family. He lost the majority decision. That was a very close fight. Now, in Nonito Donaire's prime, he'd have flattened this guy. He's 5'2", small bantamweight, good combination, good tough man. He's a very cliche Mexican fighter. He comes forward. He has a good left hook. He throws good combinations to the body and to the head. He's tough. He's aggressive. He's in shape. But he does come forward and is like Floyd Mayweather would say, straight up and down. And normally in Donaire's prime, even in his rebirth, if Donaire can still be the guy that beat up Nordine Bali a year or two ago, then he can still handle Santiago here. Because styles make fights. He's a little guy coming forward. He could walk into that monster left hook. One of the best left hooks in boxing history, Nonito Donaire. But Donaire, man, he got blown out in 2 rounds against Inoue. And this guy ain't no Inoue. But he got blown out in 2 rounds. He's almost 40 years. He may already be 40 years old. He's been fighting a long time. A lot of us, he's such a great fighter, we've written him off. And then he had a late career resurgence. Hurt Inoue in the first fight. Knocked out Ubali to become WBC champ. He's fighting for the WBC again. So if Donaire is the same guy that beat Ubali, then he could still beat Santiago and add another another WBC belt to his already first ballot Hall of Fame career, but I just don't know what Donaire has left. I mean, we felt like he was past it a few years ago, then he turned back the clock a little bit, and then Inoue blew him out in 2 rounds, so I don't know what Donaire we're going to get Saturday. I will get his final Fulton Inoue analysis, though, when we see him at the weigh-in and at the press conference. So, I don't know what to expect from Donaire. Donaire is one of the all-time greats, 5-division champion, one of the best fighters of the last 20 years. But I don't know. If he's anywhere near himself, he should still be able to walk Santiago into a left hook at some point. But I don't know if he should really even be fighting anymore. If he's looking to close on a win, maybe he could close on this win, but fighters rarely do that. He's an old-school type fighter that they're going to have to carry him out of that ring to make him retire. So, Martin in the main event, Nonito Donaire in the co-main event. Don't know what to expect from Donaire. Do expect Martin to win, as he might be the biggest threat in the lightweight division outside of the big 3, even including Lomachenko. Valentin saying, Sean, what does your title mean? So, to recap that, or Z-cap that, Valentin, Ennis is the IBF mandatory. He has been, actually, he's the IBF champion, interim champion. So, whoever wins Crawford versus Spence, that undisputed reign will probably not even make it to one title defense, because they'll have to vacate the full IBF title to Jaron Ennis, who would probably fight Cody Crowley at that point. And so that's what the title means, is Ennis is going to end Spence versus Crawford undisputed reign. It's just he probably won't get the opportunity to end it into the ring, unless with a slight chance this scenario happens. Crawford wins, Spence doesn't want a rematch, and Showtime now, left with 36-year-old Terrence Crawford, who's never been a real pay-per-view star and doesn't like to self-promote to become one. They might want to put him in with the 26-year-old kid, or man, Jaron Ennis, who they have invested lots of money and network time into. Maybe they would overpay Crawford to get him in the ring with Boots. But outside of that, I don't think Boots will get his shot at Spencer or Crawford. But despite not getting his shot in the ring, he will, out of the ring, end the winner's undisputed reign, because the winner will be stripped before a rematch of the IBF title to elevate Boots Ennis to full IBF champion. So, Valentin, thank you for asking. That is what the title is referencing. Spence beats Buddy and moves to 154, Valentin? I don't think so. I think Spence would move to 168 and look to fight Canelo Alvarez. I really do think that. Oh, my bad, chat. No, I think Spence would look to go to 168 and fight Canelo Alvarez, because he's a money man. He's a businessman. So, and 160's a wasteland. And then 154, who are you going to fight? Your stablemate? Jamel Charlo, what's Derek James going to do? Give you water for 25 seconds and him across the ring water for 25 seconds? So, we'll see. So, there's that. Alicia Bumgarner fights this Saturday against Christina Leonardo. Tough break for Michaela Mayer. Michaela Mayer was supposed to get Christina Leonardo to kind of play equalizer games with Alicia Bumgarner. Okay, you beat me, but I beat the girl that beat you. And that gives her more leverage to get that rematch she wants. But now Michaela's talking about fighting Chantel Cameron at 140. That Leonardo fight fell through. And now the champ, Alicia Bumgarner, gets to fight at home in Detroit. Undisputed title defense against the only woman that's ever beaten her in Leonardo. And I think that Bumgarner beats her. I think Clarissa Shields is hands down the best female fighter in boxing. She's the greatest female boxer of all time. But I think in terms of skills, in some ways Bumgarner is better than Shields. Shields, she's got that cheat code button where if push comes to shove, she could just press a button and throw a 10-punch combination with blistering hand speed. She could do that whenever she wants on command, and that's like her cheat code. But doing that is kind of an amateur thing. Throwing combinations is a little bit of that USA boxing Olympic pedigree, whereas Bumgarner has more of that settled in, slower pace, pro style, picking her shots. And Bumgarner does beautiful stuff with her lead hand at her waist. She sets beautiful traps behind her up jab. And then she has a great left hook to the body, almost a little underutilized. Like to see her use that left hook to the body more. And then, of course, she's got the bomb, the brick, the right hand that got her on the scene by knocking out Terry Harper. So in terms of pro-style tricks and traps, I actually think Bumgarner's a little more sophisticated than Claressa Shields, but there's just no beating Claressa being 5'9", strong, athletic, faster than everybody. And then whenever she wants, press that button and just... She can throw them 10-punch combination. Like I got my Floyd Mayweather Sr. on. Who remembers when Floyd Sr. would make that noise about combinations to Oscar? Go, hey, man. You know, so... But Bumgarner, though, is a bad woman, man. Very, very intelligent. You know, in the ring and out of the ring, too. Smart girl. She's a star. You know, she's a star. Not yet in... female boxing is tough, but she's taken the right steps, and she has star appeal. It's tough fighting on DAZN. It's tough being a female boxer and trying to get the needle moving, but she is a star, and I expect her to win her fight. So, Shadeja Green is the boogie girl. She is the boogie girl. I would love to see her fight Claressa Shields. That seems like the only real challenge out there for Shields. We know what she could do to Savannah Marshall. She's been there and done that. I know Marshall just became undisputed, but we know Claressa could take care of her. Let's see Shadeja Green. Shadeja Green's going to be the first time I think Claressa will be there with a stronger woman. Shadeja Green, very strong, brings physicality to the ring, and is a tough Jersey girl. So I would love to see that fight. Yeah, what was... Yeah, Martin in the main event, I think he does his thing. Nonito, I don't know what to expect from him. If he's got anything left, he could still pull off a left hook. But he might just get broken down and look like an old man. Nonito probably shouldn't be boxing anymore. He's one of the best fighters the last 20 years. I love Nonito. So let me read a little something from the chat, and we could maybe make it. Not every show has to be 3 hours, right, Chad? We could maybe let this one just rock for another 15-20 minutes. Juan Collado said, time to get to the chat. How the IBF is going to strip Spence when the WBA can just strip Spence right now for Stanionis. Well, Juan Collado, if you're the WBA, why in the fuck would you want to strip Spence? Let me ask you something, Juan. And I ask this with respect. I'm just having fun. I don't mean my tone to be condescending. But Juan, what would you rather have 3% of? Stanionis, TBA, right? Here, I'll type that in so we know. Would you rather have 3% of Stanionis, TBA, vacant WBA world title? Would you rather have 3% of that if you're the WBA, or would you rather have 3% of Spence Crawford? Showtime, PPD. 3% of Spence Crawford is going to get them at least over $1 million. 3% of Stanionis TBA is going to get them like maybe $50,000. So that's why. Yeah. So, but thank you for the question. On merit, maybe Stanionis should already get a chance to have it already, but yeah. Do I think Beterbiev can drop Canelo? I don't think we ever see that fight. Beterbiev's almost 40. Canelo seems to have learned his lesson at 175 pounds. He's back at 68. I don't think we ever see that fight. Would he drop Canelo? If anyone can, it'd be Beterbiev, because Canelo's got one of the great chins in boxing history, easily one of the best chins today. And if anyone could crack that granite chin, it probably would be Beterbiev, but I just don't think we'll ever see that. New Age Live. Good question, New Age Live. New Age Live said, Sean, what do you think about Devin Haney's offer to Shakur 75-25 split? I think it's smart PR by Devin Haney. I don't think Devin's offering him that split in hopes and thinking he's really going to take it. Devin's probably giving him that split knowing he's going to turn it down. But it's good PR. It's a good counterpunch by Devin Haney. Sign the contract. And then Devin tweets out after the 75-25, sign the contract. Beautiful counterpunch by Devin Haney. I don't criticize Shakur. Look, in my opinion, and by the way, 70-25, not a horrible offer, because that is the split. The sum of the sanctioning bodies. I think maybe the IBF does 65-35. One of them, I believe, does 65-35, which I think is actually the right split for this fight. 65-35, maybe even closer to 60-40. For Devin to really feel like a big dog, go ahead and keep Shakur in the 30s, maybe 38. But I think 65-35-ish is a fair split right now. Devin took the shorter money to fight Kambosos, but he knew he would beat Kambosos. Haney-Stevenson's a much more even fight. If you knew boxing, you knew Haney was going to take care of Kambosos behind his jab. So it's a bigger risk for Shakur than it was for Haney. But it was a good counterpunch by Devin. You're talking all the shit that you want the fight. Well, here is a legitimate offer. Maybe not the offer you wanted, but it's the same offer 3 of the 4 sanctioning bodies would give you if it went to purse bid. You're the challenger, I'm the champion. I get 3/4. That's how things used to be back in the day. It's not the craziest thing in the world. But me personally, I think 65-35 would be better and fairer. But like Andre Ward said in the Book of Ward, you don't get what you're worth. You get what you negotiate. And the real matter of Stevenson and Haney is that fight's just not ready yet. That fight's not that big yet. So that's the real reason that fight won't happen next. Is it's not really one of those fights yet. Stevenson and Haney are career-defining challenges for each other. So you want to make career-defining money. And that career-defining money's not there yet. Devin is a bigger draw right now. I think he got a bump from beating Lomachenko on pay-per-view in a fight that seemed to kind of exceed expectations at the box office. I was ringside that night. Well, close to ringside. I was where they put us now. And that place was sold out and live. And Devin, may have got booed by the decision a little bit after, but a lot of those fans were his in that audience too. It was pretty close to 50-50 that night. So Devin's a little bit bigger draw right now, but neither guy's on that Tank Davis level of being a real pay-per-view star. And time's on their side. Devin's 25, Shakur's 26. It's just not time yet. The business side of boxing says it's not time for that fight yet. Tank and Haney is a lot more ready to be done. Haney brings the Undisputed, Tank brings the box office, and Devin brings a little box office too. He's going up in an upward trend in that area. Now Shakur, he sold about 10,000 plus fighting Valdez at the MGM. He did his thing at home, sold some thousands of tickets at home. Halfway filled up the crowd in Atlanta against Jamel. So he's on the right track too. But Devin's a little further ahead. But there's just not a whole lot of money in that fight yet. And that's why I don't think that fight's going to happen yet. If there was a lot more money in the pot, Shakur might be willing to take 25% of that pot. But like I said, Haney and Stevenson are career-defining fights for each other. And the career-defining money isn't on the table for those two just yet. So that's how I look at it. And I don't particularly hold either guy at fault for that fight not happening. I think Devin's starting to kill himself to make lightweight. And I think Shakur, I understand not wanting to take 25% when that fight's going to be worth a lot more money. And if you keep winning like you are, you might get a bigger slice than 25% eventually. So I don't hold either guy in contempt for not making that fight just yet. So when will Ennis fight someone with a pulse? Villa had a pulse. He was a puncher and came with his high guard. Actually, he's good in the exchanges. He tried to do a quick little dip and come up with his left hook. He caught Ennis with that in the 3rd round, but Villa was a live body, not a top 5 welterweight, but probably a top 10. And Ennis will fight a live body when a live body's willing to get in there with him. You heard Steven Espinoza kind of speaking for Stan Jonas. Stan Jonas ain't going to want to get in there with him after a year. The winner of Spence Crawford's not going to want to get in there with him. Thurman and Ugas are probably going to, might not even be welterweights by the time they fight soon. So it's tough. He didn't throw any punches, says Barry Murray. He didn't throw any punches because of what was coming back. And every time he opened up, there was a shot waiting for him with power. And you got to be patient. You can't just walk into shots. And Villa was trying to apply patient pressure early behind the high guard. And then in the 3rd round, he got where he wanted. He closed that gap a little bit, and he got Boots to start fighting and exchanging with him in the pocket as opposed to jabbing his head off. That patience allowed him to force the exchanges in round 3. But once he got Boots to fight his fight, he realized this guy could beat me at that game too. He could beat me on the outside with the jab. He could beat me in the pocket. He could beat me up to the body. He just gave it to Villa every which way he could give it to him. Villa did the best he could, brother. Trust me. It's tough when you're fighting a guy like Ennis. So yeah. Joe Lewis says, I don't even like Haney, but he would beat Shakur, and that 25% would be the most he ever made plus the belts. Rudy Tupapa, what's up, Rudy Tupapa? Rudy Tupapa saying, Haney, good to see you, brother. Saying Devin Haney is the A side in that fight, and plus he's the undisputed champion, and I'm not a fan of either one. It's just facts. He is the A side. He is the bigger draw. He is the undisputed champ. So if Shakur doesn't want 25% of that pot right now, I get it. But Devin did... Devin could say, I pulled his card. I did give an offer, and it's the same offer he would have to take if it went to a purse bid and he was a mandatory challenger. So now for me, it's not pulling this card. It's business, and it's business, and it's not time for that fight to happen just yet. This isn't a situation like Manny and Floyd and Crawford and Spence where they're established, established fighters. Into their 30s, late 20s, into their 30s. These are two guys who are just entering their prime at 25 and 26. Devin just fought on pay-per-view, but between the two of them, they've only been on pay-per-view once, so it's not that time just yet where you could hold their feet to the fire and they just absolutely have to fight each other, in my opinion. Molly Mall asking, will Andy Cruz training with Boots help him a lot? It will. You know what, Molly Mall? Great question. Thank you for the super chat, brother. Great to see you. But I think that's a good fit now that I think about it. Molly Mall, because Andy Cruz is a mover. He's an athletic fighter. He's not like Yoelvis Gomez from Cuba, loading up on shots, losing to Taylor, Marquise Taylor. Shout out to Marquise Taylor for that upset. He's not like... who's the guy I'm trying to think of? He's not like Ugas. Feet planted, hands up high, looking to be a little tricky with the defense and catch you with the right hand. He's an athletic, lots of movement, great reflexes kind of guy. And Jaron Ennis is that kind of guy. But what Cruz is going to need in his game is he's going to have to learn to sit down on shots. But while you make him learn to sit down on shots like a pro, you don't want to take away from him all his wonderful attributes from the Olympics and the amateurs, the movement and all of that. So the way you keep his movement, his athleticism, what he does best, but fine-tune it with some real sitting down on power shots is the style of a Bozy and a Boots Ennis. That's what they teach. They teach moving around the ring, being slick, being fast, but being powerful and sitting down on shots. So Andy Cruz might be with the perfect kind of team in Boots and Bozy because they teach that athletic but powerful style. And Cruz certainly has all the athleticism, but he hasn't always shown us power and the ability to sit down or even stay in the pocket in the pros. One way it might not be a great fit is Boots. He's not like the Derek James, Errol Spence. Doesn't have that perfect high guard. He relies on his creativity and his maneuvers and his athleticism and reflexes more. He's not just the basics. And Andy Cruz might need some of those basics and not learn them from Bozy and Boots. But what they will give him, they'll accentuate his athletic gifts and maybe put some oomph on his punches to go without taking away those athletic gifts. So I think it's a good fit overall. The one flaw in the fit is Bozy and Boots don't in terms of that fundamental high guard, the basics of defense, they don't rely or use that a whole lot. And Andy Cruz might need a little bit of that. He doesn't like to keep his hands up. He does that amateur Cuban habit of pulling straight. He would keep guys at long range, hit them with the southpaw left hand, pull straight back, and then hold up his left hand to the judges, you know, to show off I just pop shotted him and made him miss. You can't do that shit in the pros. So we'll see, but I love Andy Cruz's talent. He is a special talent from Cuba, no doubt about it. Tatted P, thank you for the super chat. Tatted P said, appreciate it, brother. Tatted P said, Blair Cobbs said he and Boots could beat Spence and Crawford. Thoughts on Boots versus Cobbs? Oh my God, Blair Cobbs is not on Boots' level. I like Blair Cobbs is an athlete. He's a good athlete, but he's nowhere. He doesn't have anywhere near Boots' jab. He doesn't hit nearly as hard as Boots. He's not the body puncher Boots. He doesn't know how to place shots, single shots or in combination like Boots. Boots has a better jab out of both stances. He's heavier handed. Now Cobbs has speed and he has some pop. Don't get me wrong. He's got some pop, but he's so not fundamentally sound, and he gets hit. He doesn't have the kind of great defensive reflexes and maneuvers that make up for a lack of fundamentals. Not fundamentally sound, doesn't have a great jab. He gasses out a little bit in the second half of fights. Two totally different levels. I like Blair Cobbs, a great guy to talk to, and he's definitely a gifted athlete. Maybe if he had started boxing sooner, because he started late in life, took to it well because his athleticism. No, but he's nowhere near Boots' level. He's nowhere near Spencer Crawford's level. The Alexis Rocha fight showed us that. Boots, on the other hand, Boots would stop Cobbs, and I think Boots stands a great chance against Crawford or Spence, no doubt about it. And then there was someone earlier in the chat. Forgive me, brother. You were asking at the beginning of the chat, what did I think of Boots' slow-mo combo where he walked up like this and then went ting, ting. That shit was beautiful. That shit was beautiful. That's why Boots Ennis, along with David Benavidez, are my favorite fighters to watch, because the entertainment value while possessing elite-level talent. The entertainment value is cool and all. Like Gotti and Ward, I love Gotti and Ward, right? But I love Morales Barrera, right behind me, more, because they gave me the same entertainment value at a much higher skill level, fought at literally the championship level. All three of their fights were for the championship of each division. So, and that's what Boots Ennis and David Benavidez give me. They give me exciting. I want the knockout. I throw combinations, but I'm elite. But I could really fight. But I got the skills to go with it. I'm not just here entertaining people, trying to get knocked. I'm an elite fighter, but I don't want to just win every round and hit and not get hit. I want to fuck someone up. I want to put on a show. And those are, to me, are my favorite fighters. Sugar Ray Leonard was like that. Tommy Hearns was like that. And to me, the two guys that really got... Crawford has that too, and Spence has that too. But I think Boots and Benavidez, man, though, I love watching those two fight. I love all boxing. If you're good, I probably love watching you fight, in all likelihood. Even Oshaki Foster throwing 10, 12 punches around, landing all of them, basically. Landing at least 50% of them against Ray Vargas. I even love that, even though I wish he would have picked it up a little bit more. But I loved his positioning, his half steps back, the fact that he didn't waste any movement. Oshaki did some beautiful things in that fight, and that was a very slow, to some casual fans, kind of boring fight. So I love watching all the different styles, all the different fighters. But personally, probably the two guys on a fan level, not a journalist level, that I get most excited to watch today are Boots and Benavidez. Sean, any news on Virgil? Asks Carl Hunter Hansen. No updates on Virgil, man. I'm like you guys when it comes to that. I'm not the scoop master. The scoops I do get, they say, please don't break this, please. Please, we're waiting to break it. So I get scoops, and I'm a nice guy. If they ask me not to break it, I don't break it. Because if I did break it, then they wouldn't give me a scoop anymore. Not throwing shade to any scoop guys out there, but I always kind of feel like to be the scoop guy then means you're indebted to your sources. And I don't want to... Fuck it. You scoop it and I'll talk about it then. Because I don't want to feel indebted to my sources quite like that. And that's just a part of the game, So... them guys, they could use you a little bit. Ellis versus Barrios at 147 and Virgil versus Zoo at 154. Ask Bram Oscar. Ellis versus Barrios at 47. Ooh, tough fight to pick. I'd give the edge to... It's a tough fight to pick. I give the edge to Barrios right now with Ellis coming off that loss to Villa. Barrios looking good against Santiago his last fight. Santiago punched... I don't know. That's a tough fight. Ellis might beat him anyway. That's a 50-50 fight. Rashidi Ellis and Mario Barrios. As for Virgil and Zoo, I give the edge to Zoo right now. Virgil's body has been betraying him, and he's never fought at 54. If they fought tomorrow... with all of Virgil's health concerns and the fact that he's never fought at 54 and the fact that Tim Tszyu is firing on all cylinders right now, I give the edge to Tim Tszyu right now if they fought. But I think Virgil, up until these health concerns started, had a higher upside than Tim Tszyu, was destined for a higher ceiling than Tim Tszyu, but we don't know what to make of that right now with the health concerns. I hope Virgil's doing well and getting better and gets back in the ring at 100%, healthy. As cliche as it sounds, I really do hope that, Virgil, if you're listening. I hope you get better, brother. And then even if you can't fight anymore, I just hope you get better and don't have to experience those shutdowns anymore in your body, brother. So, Pocket says, Sean Zittel, my fave commentator, interviewer. Props! Thank you, Pocket. I appreciate that. Don't worry about spelling the name correctly. It's all good. Thank you, brother. Ellis versus Barrios really is a good fight because I'll give you a pick even if it's 50-50. That's a tough fight. That's a tough fight to pick, Ellis and Barrios. Just when I'm tempted to say Barrios, I just think of how much faster Ellis is than him and how sharp he is and how good he did look against Villa for about 8 rounds. So it's tough. It's tough. Rudy Tupapa says, I can't wait until Sean goes to interview Canelo and puts pressure on him against fighting David. Rudy Tupapa, I don't know if I'll be doing that next time because I've done it to him like 7 times in the last couple years. I've done it so many times that I don't know what purpose it'll continue to. In the latest update of Sean hounding Canelo over David Benavidez, I mean, we could do it like that. We could make it part 10. But, I don't know, man. I don't know. Not to disappoint you, Rudy Tupapa, but I might let someone else ask him about Benavidez instead of me doing it again for the 10th time because there's only so many times he could give me an answer other than I'm gonna fight. I'm kind of tired of asking him. Kind of tired of the bullshit. So I'll go down to San Diego when it's time and probably wind up asking. But you're right. I'll probably wind up asking about Benavidez anyways, in all likelihood. But if I don't, just know it's not because I'm shook. It's because I'm literally tired of asking him about it. And I'm a little shook. And I'm a little worried that on the 11th time is the time that Canelo catches a lawsuit, hits me with the body shot. I go down, tears coming out the eyes. Son has to watch it viral on YouTube when he gets older at school. So I mean, I'm a little shook as well. But AJ versus White 2 gets 2 thumbs down from John L. Sullivan. Yeah, 2 thumbs. I mean, AJ staying busy. It's smart from AJ's point of view. It's fight number 2 with Derek James. Stay busy, stay improving, and working on the things you and Derek are working on. This is a more dangerous opponent than Franklin because he can punch. But Dillian White has seen better days. He doesn't really keep himself in good shape. He gets tired early in fights. He was better around the time he fought Joshua the first time, but you could argue Joshua was better too. I think Joshua beats White again. I like the pairing of Derek James with Anthony Joshua and Ryan Garcia. I think it's a good fit for both guys. I think Joshua beats White again, and it's a good move by Joshua because he gets the second fight in to work on things with Derek James before fighting a Wilder or a Fury or any of those guys. So, JR saying, so the Morrell versus Benavidez fight is off. I haven't heard any updates on it. I haven't heard from David since I interviewed him. I'll probably be one of the first people to get to talk to David once something's official. So, stay tuned. We'll find out soon. But the last update I got from Team Benavidez is, PBC is trying to get Jaime Munguia to and his team to agree to that fight because they feel Munguia's a more established veteran than Morrell. Also an easier fight than Morrell, of course, and a bigger name. And from my eyes, a good move on the fighting Munguia for Benavidez is that it really introduces him to Mexico, to the Mexican market. I'm sure a lot of fans in Mexico know him, heard his name, but Munguia, being from Mexico, not Mexican-American like David, he gets a lot of press and some fame in Mexico. So if David could beat him, in what would probably be a one-sided fight, it'll make David much bigger in Mexico, and it'll make the media pressure for Canelo in Mexico that much more intense, because now the Mexican media and the Mexican fans are familiar with him, having fought one of the guys from Mexico, Munguia. But, obviously Munguia is the easier fight than Morrell, but it's the bigger fight than Morrell. So that's why the business people in charge of Benavidez are trying to make it happen for him. But Steven Espinoza said something interesting about Benavidez and Morrell fighting on the same card. He said that after the Boots Ennis fight to my man Hans Demistode. That got my antennas going up and saying, that kind of makes sense, because Boots and Morrell is the second best fight at super middleweight Benavidez and Morrell is the second best fight at super middleweight besides Canelo and Benavidez. But even though it's a great fight, and even though it's a very competitive fight and the second best fight in the division, it's an undercooked fight. It's an undercooked fight. That meat's a little raw. It hasn't been marinated or cooked yet. So I actually kind of agree and understand Showtime Espinoza saying, well, let's cook it a little bit. Let's put them on a double header and then put them up against each other early next year. That, from a business standpoint, that makes sense to me. And even from a sports standpoint, because Morrell at 9 fights into his career is so talented, tricky with his feet, power in both hands, athletic, big, that he might pull it off already at 9 fights. But it certainly wouldn't hurt to get him a 10th fight, especially if they could get him someone decent. Although it'd probably be Sina Agbeko, who was supposed to have fought him last time. Maybe he'd fight Agbeko. Benavidez would fight someone, fingers crossed, like an Andrade, but nah, they'd likely take Andrade in Charlo, Jamal Charlo, or Caleb Plant's direction. This is just being realistic about the scenarios that could play out, people. So I wouldn't be surprised if Benavidez winds up co-headlining with David Morrell in September and October and November. Wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised if he does fight Morrell. I would be surprised if he actually gets the Munguia fight. So, Rudy Tupapa says, I have never said anything negative about David. He's one of my favorite fighters. But if he doesn't fight David Morrell, I'm going to call him a duck. Sounds like Rudy Tupapa is just keeping that same energy. He's calling, Rudy, you probably feel like Canelo's ducking Benavidez, or Benavidez is thinking business when it comes to Morrell, then you'll say Benavidez is ducking Morrell. And now, in boxing, we love to play duck, duck, goose sometimes. But Rudy Tupapa, to keep it fair, that fight is undercooked, man. I don't hate the idea. I used to love collision courses. I used to love when HBO, back in the day, Hopkins versus Robert Allen, De La Hoya versus Felix Sturm. I used to Shane Mosley fighting the week after Oscar fights or the week before, and then they fight each other. I like that. I don't like long, drawn out 5, 6, 7 fights, 3, 4, 5 years to make it happen. No. But I do like a little build-up, a little commercial, a little appetizer. Guys fighting 1 week apart on the same network or fighting on the same night, knowing you're going to get your main course next. I like that. And I kind of like that idea for Benavidez Morrell. I'm okay with that. I'll allow it. Like Mills Lane would say on Celebrity Deathmatch, I'll allow it. Maybe you guys ain't feeling your boy, though. Maybe you guys are feeling like your boy is being a little soft on Benavidez. I don't know. Let me know. But I'm just being logical with it. Keep it moving. Thank you so much, brother, for the super chat. Said, if anything, they should be grateful for the spread of the scoop. Right. That I passed on it. Like that just makes it easier for everyone else to get it. But I don't think I get any scoops that are making the top dogs nervous or nothing. But I know stuff like, I knew Mari Cornejo was the replacement for Shields before anyone else knew it. But they, they asked me, hey, please don't break this. We want to break it ourselves. The team. Like, all right, sure, go for it. I'm not tripping. One scoop I have right now that hasn't been broken to the press. It might not age well. I might look like an idiot, but I keep hearing from people very close that Ugas and Thurman's going to be at 54 and not at 47. But we'll see, though. Steven Espinoza still mentioning the winner of that fight as a potential guy for Boots makes me pause and say, okay, maybe it is that welterweight. But maybe Steven's just saying that to fill out the list of potential opponents for Boots, so it sounds more lucrative, like they got more options for him than they really do. I don't know. Zoo versus Mendoza. Zoo. I got Zoo. But Mendoza showed he got a fucking left hook and a huge heart that you got to watch out for. But I like Zoo better. More consistent, more compact, better body puncher. Yeah, I like Zoo. How do you feel about the young boy Abdullah Mason? I feel great about him. I saw potential special in his last performance on ESPN. I know it's early. It's not even 20 yet. He's fighting guys he's supposed to beat. But I like to compare him to Kid Austin, who might be a more explosive athlete than Abdullah, but didn't have Abdullah Mason's level of skill that I saw on the Jared Anderson undercard. I saw a fighter that could be special maybe one day in Abdullah Mason. Not just good, not just really good. I saw flashes of potential elite out of Abdullah Mason in his last fight. He's a very serious and focused kid too. Devout Muslim with his 5 older brothers. His dad is a devout Muslim. They take their religion very seriously, and in turn take their lifestyle very seriously. They don't tolerate any weed smoking or drinking. And then he's got 5 brothers to crack the whip on his ass if he ever gets out of line in life. He's got a lot of people that love him and to hold him accountable, and they all box. And he might not even wind up being the only Mason brother that connects at a top level. But I'm extremely high on Abdullah Mason. Extremely high. I definitely bought up all my stock after watching. I've seen him spar Devin Haney as a teenager, but he really jumped out to me last time up. And people that know boxing have been saying he's been jumping out to them since he became a pro. But he really jumped out to me in that last fight. I'm sold on him as one of the best prospects in boxing. So let me see here. Yeah, fire in my bones. You're with me, right? That kid could be special, and he's got a special level of focus to his temperament, at a young age. So I think he's the goods. But all right, chat. I don't want to drag on too much today. We only got 45 likes because I think a lot of people weren't loving the title. They're thinking I'm saying Jaron Ennis is gonna whoop Spencer Crawford next. He could if he got a chance against either one of them. But to recap it, Ennis will end Crawford or Spence's undisputed reign because he's the IBF mandatory or he's the IBF interim champion. And I don't think either one is going to get in the ring with him right after that. They might fight each other or Spence might move up. And at that moment, the winner of the fight will be stripped of the IBF belt. And so even without ever getting in the ring, Boots Ennis will have ended the undisputed reign of the winner of that fight. So he probably gets Cody Crowley next, and a very realistic scenario is Cody Crowley and then Amantas Stanionis to become IBF WBA champ and cement himself as the best welterweight post Crawford Spence. The dream, I think the only realistic dream scenario for Boots is that Crawford beats Spence. Spence opts not to do a rematch, moves up and does something else, and then Showtime, left with a 36-year-old Crawford, gives him a big payday to get in the ring with 26, 27-year-old Boots Ennis, who they have invested a lot of airtime in and resources. And that's the only scenario I see Boots getting the winner of Crawford and Spence, is if Crawford wins, Spence elects not to do the rematch, he moves up in weight, and Showtime makes Crawford a very lucrative offer to fight their asset, Jaron Ennis. But outside of that, I think Jaron Ennis, he'll have the winner stripped because he'll have to be elevated to full IBF champion. He'll probably have to fight Cody Crowley in that vacant full IBF title fight. He beats Cody Crowley, no doubt about that. And then after that, he probably would get Stan Jonas to become the #1 welterweight post Crawford Spence. It's not the scenario we really all want. I think we all would want to see the winner fight Boots. But that's, to me, covering this sport is the most realistic scenario we're headed towards. And that's that, man. If there's anything else you guys want, chat, before I get up out of here, just let me know. Otherwise, have a great rest of the week. I'll probably be live again at some point. I'll be live. We'll see. Maybe I'll be live for the Frank Martin fight. We'll see. I'll be live ringside. So sometimes it gets tricky sometimes when I'm ringside. You got other people, other media members. They don't want to hear me doing the round by round. I get it. I understand. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Sometimes the networks don't love it either, you know. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes Saturday. But I'll definitely be with the ZCap Monday this time next week. And there'll probably be some news throughout the week. I got to check in with you guys during the week. But Devin and Regis Prograis next. Very possible. Devin hasn't agreed to anything with Showtime PBC. He hasn't agreed to anything with Matchroom Eddie Hearn. He hasn't agreed to anything with Arum and Top Rank yet. So the Regis Prograis fight, very possible. Especially if Eddie's willing to overpay, you know. And I think Devin beats Prograis. Prograis is a dangerous fight, you know, dangerous fighter. But I think Devin beats him. And if Devin beats him, Devin takes the Prograis fight, there will be criticism. Come on, man, that was the least lucrative out of the three, you know. Teofimo, Devin could say, Teofimo what? The guy said he retired. He's wackadoo. That's what, you know, Devin could say. So y'all talking about I should have took the Bob Arum Teo, you know. The guy said he's retired, didn't he? That's the fight I'd probably love to see for Devin. Is Teo at 140, because I don't want Devin getting down to 35 to fight a Lomachenko rematch, to fight a Stevenson, to fight a Tank, if he's not 100%. That's not fair to Haney. You know, I would want Haney. Now, if he's 100% at 35, then go ahead. Fight Tank next. That's the fight. That's the fight with the most money and the most legacy on the line is Tank and Haney. That's an amazing fight. I would love to see that fight. But I want to see the fight with both fighters at 100%. I don't want to see a weight drained at 35 Devin Haney. So Devin would probably get criticized if he takes the Prograis fight, because door number 1 for fans is probably Tank, door number 2 is Teo, and then door number 3 is Regis. But Regis has that green belt. He's got the prestigious belt. He's got the green belt. And he's still a good fighter, so I wouldn't criticize it. I wouldn't criticize, but I wouldn't like. Well, I guess I would criticize a multi-fight deal with Matchroom, because outside of Prograis, they literally have nothing. Richardson Hitchens is good, but they have nothing. You know, Top Rank has a Lomachenko rematch. It has Shakur Stevenson. It has Teofimo Lopez. Even some of their veterans are solid fights, like Jose Ramirez. PBC's got Frank Martin and Gary Antoine Russell, Subrio Matias, and of course, most importantly, Tank Davis. But the Prograis fight itself is a good fight, and you gotta always love grabbing that green belt. So if it's a one-fight deal with Eddie Hearn, I like it. You know, I'll allow it. You know, but a multi-fight deal with Eddie Hearn would make no sense. So we'll see what Devin does next. Montana Love lost to some guy in his recent fight. You know, and casual. I deserve the casual comment for that. I can't remember. I watched the fight. I can't remember the man's name that Montana Love lost to. It was a Latino. Let me take a look. Who was that Montana Love? But Montana Love doesn't deserve a Devin Haney fight. Who was that beat him? Hispanic fighter, I believe. Was it Steve Spark? No, I'm tripping. No, it wasn't. Oh yeah, because it went by DQ, because he kept bullshitting, kept holding too much and fouling. So that's right, it was Steve Spark. It wasn't Valenzuela was the guy he beat before Steve Spark. And then his best performance on that Showtime pay-per-view undercard was with Baranchek. That's what got him the deal with Matchroom. But it was kind of... Then he looked good against Carlos Diaz on that JoJo versus Devin Haney undercard. I was ringside for that. He looked good. And then this was on the Canelo Bivol undercard. And he cruised, man. That fight, he didn't put his foot on the gas at all. He just pop-shotted and did nothing the rest of the fight. And won. And then the Steve Spark debacle meltdown happened. So, nah, he doesn't get a fight with Devin Haney. That doesn't make any sense. But Love versus Hitchens. Hitchens beats Montana Love. I like Richardson Hitchens. But he doesn't make any sense right now, and where he's at in his career for Devin. He doesn't do anything for Devin Haney. So if Haney's going to go with Hearn, make it just one fight, grab that green belt, and get back to the big business with Top Rank and PBC. So, sorry, Eddie. I got love for you, Eddie. I'm sorry. Just checking if there's anything else in the chat, and otherwise... New Age Live says, Sean, drop a Fight Hype podcast. This is kind of it. It's not the most official or organized way, but it's authentic. It's from the mud. It's real. Kind of. I do hold back. Thank you, though, New Age Live. Appreciate that. Coda Box says, hey, yo, Sean, I got a source that says Al Heyman has reached out to Bill Haney to make the Tank Davis versus Devin Haney fight. And I know it's true. So if Devin goes and signs a contract, he's scared. Well, Coda Box, it would make sense that they're trying. I've heard from people I talk to in the business, too, that that's a fight they want to make for Davis on the PBC side, is Haney. My speculation is their guy at 28 is really in his prime now. 28, 29. And whereas Devin is beginning to enter his prime but isn't really in it. He looked beatable against the southpaw in Lomachenko, who hit him with a lot of straight left hands, They might be thinking Tank lands those same kind of left hands, the fight's over. Tank is very strong right now at lightweight. Devin is killing himself to make lightweight. So the timing and the ingredients of the fight makes sense that PBC Al Heyman would want to make that fight with Devin Haney, Bill Haney. Tank knocks out Haney, gets all 4 belts on his waist in addition to his star power, and he's a made man. He really is the face of boxing. Right now, he's one of the co-faces of boxing with Canelo and Tyson Fury. In my opinion, those are the 3 biggest faces in boxing: Canelo, Tyson Fury, and Tank Davis. I don't want to say that Devin's scared if he doesn't make that fight. If Devin isn't 100%, 110% making 135 anymore, money ain't worth it, brother. You don't sell your soul. You don't, you know, it ain't worth it. You got to fight him at 140 then at a later date where you are 100%, because more important than the money is winning, right? And the money is guaranteed whether you win or lose. But if you're 90%, 85%, 99, 98% against not just Tank, but a rematch with Loma, a fight with Shakur, then you got to tell 135 to F off. You got to move up to 140 because you got to do right by yourself first and foremost and your body. And you got to be at 100, not even 100. You got to be at 110% when you fight the best of the best like those guys I mentioned. So if Haney doesn't accept it, because in fact, not in theory, not speculation, in fact, he's not 100% anymore making 135. I'm okay with that. I actually like it because, you know, it's one thing to take it for the money, but if you're taking it because you really feel you can win and want to win, then maybe you got to say, hey, I got to get you later at 140 where I'm going to be 100%. I can't fight you in a compromised state. I saw what that just did to Ryan Garcia, trying to fight you not all the way. I mean, and it wouldn't have mattered if Ryan got to fight Tank at 140. He got knocked out anyways. He just wasn't the better fighter. But for Haney, man, that's just how I personally feel. No matter how much the money is, if you're not 100%, don't do it. If you're 100%, if you could do it, if you could pull off and rehydrate to 150 plus and be strong, then do it. But that's not what I'm seeing from Haney. I'm seeing a kid that needs to move up to 140. So let's see. Is Ryan versus Rolly more likely than Ryan versus Tio? Yeah, I think so, because Ryan likes to work with PBC. He likes the money he just made working with Tank. Lupe Valencia has a good relationship with Al Heyman. Ryan's never worked really with Top Rank. I think Oscar has a friendlier relationship with Aram these days than he does Heyman, but they still aren't best friends either. I think Rolly's a much more winnable fight for Ryan than Tio, so I don't think Ryan's going to fight Rolly next either. I think Derek James and company are going to want to get a tune-up in, for their first fight together. But it could be Rolly. I think it's more likely it's Rolly than Tio, but I don't think it's going to be either one. I think it's going to be Ryan in a comeback fight, whoever it is. So, just going to check a few more things here. Yeah, Steve Spark. My bad, chat earlier on that. Coda Box, what do you think about Gary Antoine Russell versus Boots? Gary beat him 3 times as an amateur. I'm very high on Gary Antoine. He was looking great. And then when he had his step-up fight with Victor Postal and his jab kept falling short, he showed great pressure fighter DNA. I mean, he's great in the pocket. But when I noticed he doesn't have a great jab on the outside, he's got short arms, they gave me a little pause for concern, even though I still think he's going to become champ at 140, Gary Antoine Russell. He's very good. But I don't think he's beating Boots now that they're professionals. He's still a 140-pounder. Boots is a 147. And Boots has a much better jab than Gary Antoine Russell. It's not a 3-round fight anymore where you could just dog it out and out-hustle the guy. It's harder to do that over the course of 12 rounds than it is 3 rounds. I like Gary Antoine. I think he's might be the best up-and-comer at 140. I like him a little bit more than even, Brandon Lee. So I think Gary Antoine will become champion at 140, but I think Boots is better. I think Boots has a better jab, whether he's southpaw or orthodox. He's better on the outside than Gary Antoine. Shows more defense and offense on the outside. Gary Antoine is great in the kitchen, in the pocket. And he's a good pressure fighter too. So, but I like Boots better right now at this stage in their careers. So they can give Ryan, Rolly, and Matias. We'll see. But just checking a few more things here. Tank is a bad matchup for Haney. You could definitely argue that because Haney's been getting hit by southpaws, whether it's Jojo Diaz or whether it's Lomachenko. He gets hit with a lot of left hands. And Tank Davis, you just can't afford to get hit with that many left hands. So from that aspect, Joe Louis, it's fair to say Tank could be a mad matchup for Haney. But Tank Davis gives away rounds. He doesn't throw a lot of punches per round. And Devin Haney could pile up the points with the jab alone. And with 4 or 5 inches in height and length, he could do what he did to Kambosos in the first fight and just jab, and not let him get into the kind of range to fire off a bomb. Now, that's going to be tough to do with Tank because he's got great timing and savviness, but an explosiveness and speed to go with that timing and savviness to tee you up and figure you out. And like my man Kenny Buhari says, get a beat on you. But at the same time, Tank waits a lot and doesn't throw a lot of punches. He gives away rounds. Haney could bank rounds. And if Davis never catches him with a good enough shot to get him out of there, he could lose a unanimous decision to Devin Haney. So it's a tough fight for both guys. I don't pencil in either one over the other. Shakur, Tank, and Devin got to fight each other. I'm not comfortable just for sure picking one over the other, So Coda Box says, yeah, but he's going to fight the boxer. He's not going to box the boxer. He's going to bully Devin in there. I don't know, man. I don't know. We haven't seen Tank have to fight that kind of fight. So I haven't seen Tank be a cut off the ring, cut the distance, get in there, force the exchange kind of guy. He's always got to be the savvy, crafty guy on the outside, even though he's shorter. But he's got his gifts and speed, and then he's got that timing and craft to go with it. And a sense of distance, but I haven't had to see Tank have to kind of sell out and cut the ring off that much in his fights. They're both bad matchups for each other, says We Juggernaut Entertainment, LLC. They are. That's why it's a competitive fight. They both are going to give each other issues. Right now, as of right now at 35, I think Tank's the favorite because he's stronger at 35. He's really in his prime. Devin's just beginning to enter his prime, and he's the better puncher, and he can match a lot of the speed and the IQ of Haney. But Haney's length and jab are going to be the biggest issues for Tank, and his work rate. And then just everything, his IQ, his instincts in the ring. So it would be a great matchup. I think if they fought tomorrow, Davis would be a little bit of a favorite. But at 140, A year from now, 2 years from now, Devin Haney growing into 140, maybe hitting a little harder at 140, entering his real prime at 27 years old, 28, and Tank being 30, 31, Haney might be the favorite a year or two from now from 140. Another reason why Haney might opt to go to 140 and not fight Davis next. We'll have to see. So, let's see. But all right, chat, I think that's about it for today. Thank you to all nearly 200 of you for joining in. We recapped what we meant by the title about Ennis will end the reign. Probably not in the ring. He's got a small chance of maybe getting Crawford in there. But even without having getting in the ring, being able to get in the ring with Spencer Crawford, he'll probably end their undisputed reign, because by being the IBF guy and neither one wanting to fight him, even if they immediately agree to terms for a rematch, by the time they rematch, it won't be for all 4 belts, because they'll have to give one away to Jaron Boots Ennis. So thank you everyone for joining in the chat today. Much love. See you guys throughout the week. If not, see you next Monday here from the high-tech quarters on Fight Hype Live. Much love, chat. Thank you everyone.